Hi everyone, my name is Cynthia. Let's talk books. Today I would like to talk about On the Road by Jack Kerouac. This is a book that I recently read because it was chosen by my book club for the month, and I actually had part in choosing this book because somebody wanted to read a classic. They suggested this book and I said yes. This book is on a lot of best books written. A lot of people will say that this is their favorite book. I want to know what it's all about. I had really very little knowledge about this book other than there are a lot of people who call this their favorite book. It was a mistake. Nobody in my book club enjoyed this book, and I don't just like doing negative reviews. I don't think, like, I know some people just do negative reviews for the sake of like doing them to get attention. That's not my goal here at all. But I do feel like there is a place for negative reviews and for critiques of books. And so I don't, when I create a video on a book and it's a negative review, it's not just me like trashing a book out of nowhere. It's I've read the book and there are things to criticize about it, and that's basically what this video will be. So first, let me talk about who this book appeals to. And I think a lot of the appeal of this book is for a white male audience that feels disconnected from the world, that feels lost. And so the story will appeal to them because it's a story of a man who is going out into the late 1940s America on the road, hitchhiking, not a lot of money, and is just wandering. There isn't really a plot to the story. Like, it's just a lot of the character being on the road with very little money. And that is what I found quite boring. Those long instances of the character just hitchhiking and trying to make it from one place to another, because I felt like the character tries to be present, but it's not. He's just really unhappy. I found that a lot of the characters, a lot of the people he meets and his friends are people who need therapy more than anything, and it just didn't appeal to me. One of the things that I have seen people connect this book to is that it captures a slice of Americana, like the U.S. in the late 1940s after World War II, what that was like. And okay, I can see some of that. I can see how it captures little bits and pieces of that, but I don't think it has anything to say about most of what it captures about white America in the late 1940s. It certainly doesn't have anything important to say about non-white people. But especially about the Americana, let's just talk about like the pieces of Americana that could be identified in this book. I just don't see, they just were not interesting. Like, you see Denver during this period, but you see it through the eyes of people who don't really care about the world or even the world around them. They don't even seem to care that much about themselves or the people they love or claim to love. So it just didn't appeal to me. On top of it, the road trip aspect of it, while realistic, it was also not interesting. I've been on some of the parts of the road that the main character Sal travels on, right? For example, I'm from Southern California. I made the trip from Southern California to Kansas, where my family now lives, through Denver, in Colorado, the state of Colorado, and also via the Southwest. So Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. And I've also traveled from California down to central Mexico and from Kansas to central Mexico and back. So I've actually been on large chunks of the road that Sal goes on. And I did not find his road trips on those chunks of road interesting. I don't think he captured what makes some of those places unique, and yeah, I didn't find that part good. Like, I've been on those chunks of road, and yeah, large chunk of it, it's nothing, or it's just fields of agriculture. And okay, yeah, that's there. What do you have to, like, so what? I just did not find that this book ever really told me the so what, or I could not identify with the so what here. I just did not identify with it. On top of it, you can see I do have it tabbed. What I have tabbed is moments that made me angry. Made me flat out angry, and I would have had a lot more, but for a chunk of it I didn't have my little tabs. The women are treated as objects. They're just purely sexual objects, or like money bags, a source of money and entertainment. That's all the women, the role the women have in this story. And okay, like, that could be true to what a lot of men might see women as, but then you're getting a really narrow view of this slice of America, and a view that then, if it's just white male oriented, then it's not very interesting. Like, this whole time I'm thinking, like, the women that are written in this story, I'm like, why would these women be with these men? There's no good reason. There's no good reason. And in fact, the author and the character knows that. They're aware that there is no good reason, and yet there they are for sex and money. So that was not very much appreciated by me. The other element is the racism in here, and I can tell the author, Jack Kerouac, thinks he is being not racist. He thinks he's being very open-minded because he has his main character, Sal, interact with black people, with brown people. Part of the story does take them into Mexico. And I was just so offended, so deeply offended by this attempt on not being racist. It's like, this is a white man trying to not be racist instead of just simply not being racist. For example, at one point, Sal is wandering in a town, wanders into the black neighborhood, and like sees black people hanging out in the streets, the children at the park having fun, and he just envies them. He envies how happy and like jolly they are, and wishes he had been born black. And I had just finished reading I Know When the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou, which also takes place during this time period, in which she discusses the experience of being black in America. And it made me want to throw this book at the wall. I just could not. Oh, and then for part of the story, the main character is in a relationship with a Mexican woman. All of the brown people are just Mexicans in here, except for one. I think there's someone from Venezuela or something, but everyone else is just a Mexican. Not Mexican American, just Mexican. So he's in a relationship with a Mexican woman, and he is working in the grape fields with her. And first of all, he tries cotton picking. He's terrible at it. Then he goes and works at the grapes. Actually, maybe they were working at the fields. Whatever, he's working in the fields. And one of the Mexican men in this community is attacked. He's beaten up. And so Sal decides, this is what he thinks. He thinks that he now has to carry a big stick for protection, right? Because, quote, they thought I was a Mexican, of course. And in a way, I am. Why? Because you're in a relationship with a Mexican woman? Because you're working in the fields? And he, at several points, says all these positive things about Mexicans. And it's just stereotypes. It's just stereotypes. In the part where the characters go to Mexico, they go to Mexico on a sex and drug binge. They talk about how beautiful the women are. The women are beautiful because they are there as sexual objects for these men. That's all the characters view these women as. and because they're happy and they don't have the same kind of, like, they're not always working. And look at the prostitutes, they're having fun. Which prostitute should I pick? I like that one, but this other one's being very friendly. I don't know how to reject her, so I can't go with you. I'll be honest, I don't know why people love this book. I mean, I know, but also no, 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 no. Before anybody says it, I read the entire book, okay? I read the entire book because I knew that if I just talked about not enjoying this book, that somebody would say that I just didn't get it. And I have to say, I got it fine. There was even a point after page 100 in which it hit me. This is just gonna appeal to people who are really dissatisfied with their life and crave, like, finding themselves, have this romantic vision of what being on the road is. And that's not even what's portrayed here, because it's not a romantic vision. I'm like, this guy goes on the road and he's hitchhiking and he's using his money terribly. Like, at some point he could use the money to just buy a bus or pay for gas, and instead he spends it on drink and women. And I'm like, if you do that, you're very quickly gonna end up, you're very quickly gonna realize it's not a good idea. I was just so frustrated, and more than frustrated, actually, I was bored. Large chunks of this I had to, like, at the beginning, it was just so hard to get to page 100. I almost DNF'd the book because it was so boring. It was putting me to sleep, because I usually read at night. So it's putting me to sleep, and I did force myself to get to, like, page 150, somewhere around there, and because it was a book club book, and so I try as much as I can to read book club books, and one of my goals in 2021 is to not force myself to read books, but I did it with this one because I wanted to see. I kept thinking there has to be a point. There has to be a point to this. There is no point. So there you go. Those are my thoughts. That is my review of On the Road by Jack Kerouac. Take it as you will. I am not here to tell people, you cannot read a book. No, I'm just here to share my thoughts. I didn't like it. I do not recommend this book. I don't know why it is on people's lists of best books ever written, or why it has remained, I don't know why people claim this is their favorite book. I just did not connect with any part of this book. So that is it. Take that as you will. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.